we've always tried to have lunch and learns in our office as much as
Yeah.
possible, right?
Yep.
But you never really make time for them. It's like posting to the company blog. You just don't do enough.
Right.
This, that, and the other. So combining those two things to be brief, I told the guys, it's like, hey, let's start really trying on purpose to do lunch and learns, and then just make that our damn blog. I've been getting great feedback from customers and peers. It's like, wow, and it does such a good job of sanitizing it.
That's great.
You get enough, like someone told me, they said, it's crazy that we're getting an inside glimpse of how you and your staff operate, and yet you're not spilling this. So I did one today that I'm looking forward to putting out. I had a necessity to figure out how to host some, just an HTML page.
Yeah.
HTML, cascade style sheets, little JavaScript, client side JavaScript,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I can't use Google. I need it to be HTML, and I can't use Google Sites for that, which is what I normally use. And I don't want to spin up anything. I don't want to host anything. I don't want to do that.
Right.
We use Cloudflare for all of our domain stuff. And I was like, man, Cloudflare is so strong, but I knew that they didn't do any hosting. And I was like, Cloudflare, web hosting. Come to find out, it's only like a year old or something. They had a different version that was different than it is now, but you can, for free,
Oh,
you
so
just put a static page on Cloudflare.
totally. Now, which is so I use Netlify, Netlify, and same sort of deal, which is like you can run. I run full apps on it, and I'm in a free tier. Like it's nuts. I have no idea at what point like these are getting like traffic and stuff, and I can manage DNS in there.
What's the
It's called Netlify, Netlify. Let me see.
okay? First glimpse is good. But I'm looking forward to how it works out because it ended up that I told everyone, I was like, look, we got a busy day. One guy was off, and the others were going to be sporadic on different sites. I said we got a real full day. I said, but I really want to get this lunch and learn done because it's not real. It's not a huge amount of impact.
Yeah.
But I had some ideas on how to spin it that were kind of customer facing. And so it ended up that only me and my sysadmin could get on the call. We only have 6 people on our call.
Yeah, yeah.
And it turned into more of a conversation. I am very much looking forward to how Gemini interprets that into a blog.
That
That'll be interesting.
Can you hear me? Test, test, test. Can you hear me from over here?
Sometimes he gets busy and be a little flaky. You gotta read that.
Okay.
Really good.
It's comfortable. Feels like
Well, we gotta catch up. We're gonna get one. Like, sorry about yesterday. All night.
that makes this seat actually just 4 hours.
Yeah.
So my broken. Oh, really? I don't know when I heard it. One woman I hear, or they got me off of,
So which screen are we?
yes, on this one. And there's beer, wine, and snacks in there. Free, so feel free.
Right, thank you.
Howdy.
Sorry about my.
Oh, no, you know what I'm saying too. It's like two, yes, two promotional,
It is hot outside.
My car, like, the AC's struggling right now in my car. Like, I have to go for a while before it gets icy cold. You know, and I'm like, oh no, this needs to be safe staff here. What's that? Oh yes, I did actually. So
You gotta stay busy.
you got him. I got some of them.
Yeah.
Nothing but around.
Let's see.
I had that.
I keep adding more to it. Make sure I at least know what's going on from the macro standpoint.
Yeah.
It's a hard.
We are, and I'll talk about this because you may be interested in this. So there's a strong, I asked to do an overmobile, and I was like, so today we're gonna talk about something I built, like, about well, and people were much more, like, that was a very interesting thing, people really wanted to dig into it. I said, who would be interested in having like a sort of builder session, right, where we all get in a room and sort of like, but who want to build stuff with AI, right? And it's like we're gonna walk through different tools or more sort of like our code set up, stuff like that. I think every hand went up, right? And so I think we'll try to get one of those like on some night for. I don't know, like I can never tell what the right time is for people for anything. So it's like yeah.
You're right.
You're probably right. Like but I think maybe start it out like once a month or something. Just to get we'll all build the same thing. Like, up on the screen, everyone can just follow along.
Yeah.
We're using different all the tools, whatever they might be.
Yeah. I was thinking that's where I see it all.
We just create a project, like on the street, sort of a list of projects that okay, we're gonna build this like app uses the database and uses like a couple different things, right? That's what I'm currently having my A rating that down, so I'm like, oh, we use the exact same sort of thing where it's like I give them like not test, but it's like okay, we're gonna build this thing so you understand how to fix something else that works. So how can they do this? Like
Every other week. No.
Once a month? Okay. Is it typically like the second Friday or?
It's usually the first.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I misspoke, it's every other week, but not only once a month here and once a month.
That's right, I'm wrong, okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I was thinking. It's really, they do a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
I just. It's like totally off the radar on the calendars. I didn't even know there's that. Glad I read one.
Well, I'm too, because it's kind of hard to describe. When people say, what is it that draws you? I was like, no.
Yeah.
It's just.
It's going to
crazy.
It's coming, and you better not be.
Yeah. It's hard to describe why this is so.
Yeah.
There's no, paper actually doesn't look like it's that great of a thing.
Yeah, pretty much just
I've
reserve
had
this
it a
one.
couple of times,
Right there.
2 months
Yeah, those are.
You know, everything's wrong.
Well, so there's a bunch of these I use. I want to get one for my house.
There's so many different applications. Communities, mathematical stuff versus engineering versus coding. It's just all over the place.
Well, I was telling them, it's like, actually, you have like a card or something. You do this once a month here in Fairhope.
Do it once a month in Fairhope, once a month in Fairhope.
I signed up for the newsletter.
Okay, I didn't realize.
That looks like fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. And more really, like, they're a great group.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy who shows up with merch. Look at you. Like, it's, good. How are you? I was traveling. Yeah, where was I? Oh, I was up north. I was family and, you know,
For standing room only.
it was insane. I mean, the star power is right here. It's like out of
It was
control.
a great session.
When you have a publicist, like,
It was tons of fun.
I love the promotion. Yeah, I love the promotion for your session.
This was, yeah, it was more wherever I happened to be at the time. So my favorite was the Lego one because I was in the Lego store in Boston and I was sitting there while my son's looking at he loves like big Legos, you know, and he also the Lego one was like, you know, he's like, oh, that's great. I want to get used to these all the time.
The Matrix one's your favorite.
Now,
my brother-in-law, Kai, we did that again, before, again, my brother-in-law actually had a great idea. Is, so what you need to do is get some of those printed off. Like take a 8.5 by 11, 5 by 7, whatever it is, print them off because it's inside. He said that way you can actually give them out to the code ring. Whatever it is, put a ring on there, put LA on there. And that way you can have this just silly stupid.
Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, right. I love that. I did one where it was like an early '90s tech company ad, like you'd see in like Computer Shopper back in the day, or like something, you know. And the problem was it was really good, and it like nailed you, but it looked like an actual ad that
It's too close to it.
it's too close to a real thing, and that people might be like, that's a their company's like really bad ad. You know, it's believable that a company might do this. And I was like, I can't use that anymore. Like, I look up like, you know, 1991 this side of it. But, yes. Yeah, you can really wrangle sort into crazy, some good, like, images. If you give it very explicit instructions.
I like Gemini. Gemini struggles.
Yes.
Struggles hard. Although, and people are doing it, this limit is minded. I chat with people over the last 12 months. People are like, oh, well, I can use AI to make an image or make a logo and things like that. And the first time I did it, I realized I done it myself, so I knew it. Because I said, you know, this is dangerous. As a business owner, and as anyone, you know, be very, very careful because you make other extremely creative. You make the black and white version, highlight all these other things. And I told this kid, we were a mentor group, and I was teaching him. I was like, yeah, that's fine. I said, what's that for? He goes, it's for my company. A legit company this kid started. Yeah. Because we're an entrepreneur.
Right.
And it's great to see you too. I look forward to letting you know.
You better know. It gets you high.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's like all versions. Also, it's what it is. I said, and you have to do good. I mean, I said, just make this style guide. To visit.
Oh, it's it?
6 months ago.
Oh, Sean,
Yeah, so I made it a nice PG. Keep on describing that to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, mashed potatoes, this is stuff. But we started.
Love
And I said, now do the logo, and I've already done this within the last week. And now I have to stop using this stuff.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
The colors and everything.
So we just kept iterating. Eventually we're gonna stop. Hi, welcome to the street.
I've been fishing some.
I want to show you guys. Yes, I was in one. So that's all Bayo 3. Now I got, like, there's a, hold on. This is John Olsen, who should be here today. My great teacher, I'm going to try to make books like goats. So he was on a tear with us. So I was like, all right. Just one after the other. Yeah, I got a bunch of 8-second like video clips. Like it's he, he called the Gemini Ultra thing, which comes with Veo 3 to me. I don't know. Have you guys been watching the Sasquatch Bigfoot videos?
Yes.
Like that's all Veo 3. It's always 8 seconds every
Right.
clip.
I can kind of tell what's saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's very good emotion. It's super funny. Like, I actually was trainer. Like 8 seconds. Yeah. Cool. Super entertaining.
I still love those babies where they get poison. I love them just so fun. Hey, Sean. Thank you. Yeah.
My 6-year-olds, and both were got I saturate them and you walk in, I'm all about more screens are better. And my oldest son, he's resistant to using it. Now I think I pinpointed him because I had another video where he's like, I got it. I'm like, do you think it's wrong to your creativity? And we pinned it down to any conversation and any places. Yeah, he's like, no, it's not me. It's AI. And I'm like, that's weird that it would be that way. And again, I love to hear a child psychologist talk about this. And but I had gotten to where I was having my 6-year-old interact with me and show it live. It's a beautiful feeling, remember, live AI. I would say, okay, let's do snap questions, let's do trivia questions, let's do some what's weird though is every time we do it, he sparks in the way, then he gets questions. And it literally is a question. It's like, like this is, it's just that phenomenon. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see generations.
I mean, eventually you're going to be ubiquitous. I mean, this is like 1996 on
I don't work out yesterday. And she's a Gen Alpha. And has nothing, doesn't want anything to do with it. My son, he's Gen Z. 22. At first he was really he thought it was like cheating. I don't want to cheat. Now he's figured out how to really look at a partnership where he's using it to team research on companies that are looking to their services to other companies. So he's doing research in Japan and for Alabama. They're looking to move operations, and he's using it all the time. He's getting paid. He's getting paid. He uses a variety. This is a great group. I think today he's using
That's what I kind of, yeah, I use it when I'm doing like energy modeling or anything like that. Kind of helps me get like all the
And what do you use?
okay.
Yeah.
And but if I'm trying to model we're about to do, then I go, okay, then this is specific to this, you know, to detect this. So I use it just kind of like a jumping off point. Okay, help me out with a template. How can I, you know, what features I should need? And then from there, I can, you know, kind of kick off. It's pretty easy. Yeah, it makes that looks a lot. Because I'm not the most proficient in Excel, right? And so that's just helpful.
I think a lot of resource analysts set things to go away.
Yeah. Well, JP Morgan, has a no
Massage,
resolution.
you see that, they're announcing like that.
Yeah, they're not using any outside source for it. They're using all their own create this AI model, purely for, you know, financial market. Which makes sense. Previously, I come from the oil and gas world, right now. I mean, in the oil and gas world, deepwater exploration is involved. And we gather every single piece of data that you can imagine, right? In like 1 second time. You know, wave movement versus wave on bit versus, you know, all of these different things. And so when you were going back to another well in a similar area, right, you have to go through and look at all the data and kind of try and manipulate the way you kind of what you were looking for, so you weren't ever really sure what you were looking for, right? So feeding that kind of thing, you know, from your own personal database into a model, and that crunch all that in a second.
So you need models. You gotta have good data going in and get that data.
Hey, how you doing? How are you? Good to see you.
I think and like you said, who has the data, you know, that real data and use that.
I don't think and studying over whatever. You got to but pretty good on the way. Use the model as like yes, you are.
I didn't think it was so good. You can start getting that one like so further than and you know, because it can
He's been here for about 4 years.
moved over from New Orleans, yeah, a little different. Yeah. When I was over there, I ran the account, the shell account for. Those books are pretty good. Yeah.
So like this would be right there. Yeah.
You know, just the first. Yeah. He's one of the guys in the end. It's the first one. Yeah. Like here. We live in here. That's cool. Street. We lived there for a while. We love it. My daughter was we love it. Yeah, we didn't have probably absolutely. I mean, that was how big Rich right here. I really enjoyed it. My wife worked on that. I'm not going to tell you too long. Yeah. I was thinking about starting region here too soon. So we just start that county region. I've never done it before. Oh, really? Did you have actually? Oh, we survived. Everything else. So we you know, that's funny how quickly it came out. Yeah. And see, because they
a little long now, but I don't know.
I thought you weren't supposed to use it. That was the whole name. That's because they wish that's what we got. That's right. And then we have to refresh. And they will smile. Yeah. They're all smart. You know, they're motivated. All they care about is me. The problem with that, I have a bunch of factors.
Oh. Okay. Okay. We'll still be here. All right, everyone. Let's do it, shall we? Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Great to see everyone. See new people. This is wonderful. So there's two things. We have a sort of a lot to talk about, and it's you're going to get a lot of me. So we don't have a presenter that's nearly as popular as Michael was. So I just want everyone to acknowledge how good he was. The man can fill seats. It's like, signing LeBron or something so, but I wanted to, tell everyone, you probably saw the news, you're aware of it. On July 24th, we're having something called the Hatchathon, which is a version of a hackathon, but it's slightly unique in a couple of ways. One, most hackathons are done in the same day or the same sort of 3-hour block. This is a 2-hour or a 2-week hackathon. So July 24th, we will be having a kickoff in this building right here. And August 7th, we will be having a demo night, or sort of a showcase night where people come back. So the idea is to get people to sort of merge our tech community with the small business community. And so we're really encouraging a couple of things. One, it's open to anyone. We have first prize is $2,500, and then there'll be a series of other prizes. And the idea is really that this is a chance for the groups to meet each other. We also want local companies to submit what we call challenges. So the idea will be that the hackathon will be people working on real business things, right? And so what those business things are frictions in your business or in your process. 2 weeks is probably not enough time to build serious software. So that's not the expectation. The expectation is that companies have things that are manual processes for some reason, or they have research that they need done, things like that. How can they do it? How can they do it with AI? And it's sort of a novel thing. So one thing we're asking for is small businesses to submit these challenges that people can work on. So the idea is you're going to come here July 24th. There's going to be, this wall is going to be covered with challenges. People are free to pick any challenge to work on, or they can come up with their own, right? And then you can work individually. You can work as a team of people. You come back August 7th and you demo whatever you have, right? It's going to be sort of a rapid fire, almost like a speed dating type thing, right? Everyone gets 5 minutes. Here's the problem. Here's how I thought about solving it. Here's my end result. In some cases, it may end up being a PowerPoint. In some cases, it's going to be a pretty polished product that comes out, right? So we have 30 people signed up to build stuff. I encourage anyone in this room to sign up to build stuff, right? It really, there's folks that haven't built anything ever before and are just interested in trying it. And there's some actual, really good software developers who signed up. And I'm looking at you, Kyle. From Kyle, we expect something like earth-shattering, but other folks may just have sort of a solution to a problem. But anyway, so the ask I have for everyone here is, one, please help get the word out. You can go to hatchathon.hatchfairhope.com, and you can sign up. You can be a participant. You can become a sponsor. And later tonight, there'll be another tab that says, I just want to attend. Right? It's a free event for everyone. So same deal. LAAI and Hatch are doing this together. And you just go there, submit your challenge. We have about 20 challenges now. I looked right before we got here. We have 30 people signed up as builders. We'd love more the merrier. We have 20 challenges submitted. I'd really like to get to like 50 challenges. So there was like interesting diversity in the challenges, whatever they were. Sir?
What are a couple of examples of things listed so far?
So someone submitted, and I believe he's watching the YouTube live stream. He submitted something on an AI tool to help with homework, to help students manage homework. That's one of them. There are a couple relating to sales, sort of like need a better lead generation, sort of automation of some kind. And then another one about writing sort of monthly updates to a dynamic group. And so it requires some AI to actually think about the routing. And that's what the core of it is, right? So how can we use AI to build things locally, that local businesses can use. Very important. People have asked me this a lot. The IP belongs with the builders. Until such time that there's been a business contract between that person and a business entity, the builder owns the IP. And so people ask, yep.
Only because you said that, would it be appropriate, or have you guys considered having non-disclosures?
That is, we haven't. That's going to be again I think the onus is on the business to say if you want to use any of our proprietary data. Like we have a challenge, but you have to kind of know our data in order to come up with anything useful. One, I don't recommend that kind of challenge, but two, if you did that, I would expect the company to ask for an NDA if that was important to them. And again, if someone builds a really good solution for that company, that the builder owns it, and the company can go back and be like, hey, I really like that idea. I'd like to continue working together and see if we could build that out. Or different businesses may see different solutions to other challenges that were not theirs and be like, oh, that's a really interesting idea. Yes?
Michael, I think somebody puts in a business challenge. They aren't looking for you to call them up and get their data. They're looking for you to come up with a prototype model to solve their challenge. And if they like what you present, they're probably going to contract with you to then go in and build it out for your solution. Because
I think maybe I'm using NDA inappropriately here. I'm actually concerned about the IP, and that we have some sort of assurance. I know I've heard others, and we've talked about this. I think Chris might have a bit of conversation. Is what if someone steals our ideas? So we've given them in the demo.
Yeah.
Or we just expect everyone to behave themselves.
The sort of the ethos of the hackathon is basically it's an idea generator and sort of a like lightweight proof of concept idea, right? There's always the risk of someone copying that, right? If they really are like, I'm going to just take that. So I think that has to be weighed by the builders and how much, like, I'm hoping that doesn't occur, but I think I'm open to the idea.
I don't think we have the powerhouses that are going to be in here that are big enough to steal from you.
Yeah. Sir.
Kai, from a solution provider perspective,
Yeah.
we're going to hear these different challenges put forth, and we're going to try to solve those and
Yep.
get a home run, hopefully.
Yep.
So will there be an opportunity to probe and to really drill down for these solutions or these requirements about what they're looking for, what constitutes a home run?
There will. So I'd say there's two separate things. This will be a judged contest, and we have a couple of the judges so far. The COO of Innovate Alabama will be a judge. Todd Greer from Innovation Portal will be a judge, and possibly someone from Alabama Power. Alabama Power has an interesting request, which we're certainly going to do, which is they're going to submit challenges, but they're only for high school kids to work on. We are going to create a different prize track just for high school kids. Right now we have one high school team signed up, so they are going to win. Unless we get the word out. So you know, my brother, who is a math teacher at Daphne High School, I was like, hey, can you just like, I don't know, text all your students and tell them? And he's like, no, that's how I get fired when he's like, we're not allowed to contact kids like outside of school and, for non-school related things. I was like, good point. But I want to put that out there, like spread the word there. If you guys know of high school kids that would like something like this, we want to make this very inclusive.
Yeah, so getting back to
Yeah.
the solution provider
Yes.
questions.
Yes. Sorry.
Would there be an opportunity to ask clarifying questions?
Yes.
to
Yes.
ascertain what the desired result should be?
Yes. There will be. Yes.
When they're submitting challenges, is there a spot for that, or is it just like one text box with like, hey, I want this to?
There is a text box. When you submit a challenge, there is sort of a headline and some detail. Now, what I have asked of people who are submitting challenge is don't be prescriptive in your solution, right? Because it's very easy to say, like, I have this problem and here's how I think it would work. It's like, no. The goal is like, builders will come up with something. It might be exactly what you were thinking, or it could be a totally different sort of idea, which I think is very valuable.
One
Yes.
other question.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity then to meet one-on-one with the requester to drill down privately to understand their situation so we don't tip off our competition if we're looking?
Yeah, that's a great. So just from a layout perspective, we have this entire floor, okay, for both nights. And so we expect people to sort of use it. And if you're interested in challenge, you find out who sponsored it. We're asking all the people who submit challenges to come, of course. And you have time to sort of go into, a different conference room and chat with them or something like that. But that's between builders and the challenge person. No. Let me be very clear. It's not organized is a good term for all of it. Like that is. But in fairness, Panini Pete is going to cater both nights. We will have a bar. Not for the high school kids. Very important that I say that. Like everyone's getting carded. That will be the rule. So it should be a very fun event. Period. Both nights should be very fun. It'll be fun to see the challenges. It's going to be super fun to see what people come up with, because who knows. But anyway, spread the word. There's some flyers over on that table. If you think of any places that would be good to put this up, coffee shops or wherever, please grab a flyer. And that's July 24th. And then 2 weeks later, we're going to meet again on August 7th. So.
August 7th, just having been in this community for a long time, that's a critical date. Because even if a company hasn't submitted a challenge, there's a lot of companies that have no idea what can be done with AI.
Yeah.
And what the whole role of this in this business community is to showcase not only the talent that's here to do the building, but also to show what is capable, even if they hadn't thought about it. So I encourage everybody to get any small business that they know here, just to let them know.
Yeah.
Our goal is to grow this thing, and we have to, and I can tell you, this is a great opportunity for people to finally see what AI is versus what they've read about and don't know about and then understand.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And also very important to point out that the Hatchathon is the brainchild of Rick. So this has been something he's talked he's talked about this for a long time, and I'm really excited that it's now coming together. And I think it's going to be a pretty just a great event. I mean, a lot of good people have signed up, and I think it'll be fun. Moving on, and there's a lot. So next week we're going to have a very interesting special guest who will be speaking in Mobile. It'll be over video. So Matthew Daniels is he is a physicist. And for his doctoral research, he developed a semi-classical formalism for exposing a novel spin-like degree of freedom in antiferromagnetic spin waves. So I put that into AI. I was like, what the hell is that? And even the answer, I was like, I don't get the answer even. So, all right. So he is working at NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They are basically sort of, among other things, like the CTO of the country. Is that they are developing everything from they manage the atomic clock. They handle all weights and measures at like subatomic particles. So it's very interesting what they do. What Matthew is working on is something that we're going to see in 10 years. So he is working on ultra low power chipsets using sort of at a sort of an atomic level, right? Because basically the thinking is this: our brains take very little power. Our brains, like from a wattage perspective, take like 2 watts to run, even at like maximum sort of drive. Whereas a chip can take hundreds and hundreds of watts, right? Servers is thousands of watts now. And so what NIST is working on is something that basically they said, we'll see this in 10 years. Like that's their whole thing, is they're working on things that are 10 years out. And he agreed to talk. He's not going to really. I'm told he's a very good speaker. So in fairness, my uncle is the director of quantum physics at NIST, and so I reached and he is also working on the same project. And I was like, hey, any chance you would speak? And he's like, he's a wonderful man and a brilliant human being, but I'm not sure he likes speaking. And so he's like, I got a guy. So I was like, cool. And he's like, he's a great speaker. He's gonna, and he's really into sort of what AI is going to become in the future. So that's going to be, we will broadcast that on YouTube. But it will be at Mobile. He's not signed up to do both. So just wanted to let everyone know, because it'll be, I think, a very interesting talk. All right. We're going to go through the news. There's so much news. It's really hard. And, it's a fire hose, exactly. And so we're going to sort of start it off, like break it into sections, because there's just so much. I'll be brief about these, but there's a lot, right? So yesterday, we don't have to go that far back, Grok 4 came out, and it's now the top reasoning AI by a lot of benchmarks. So I think it's very interesting. It's using the Colossus system that is in part in Memphis, which is this massive, 500,000 chip Colossus of a machine, and it's supposed to be extremely fast. It had a bit of a problem with anti-Semitism when it first came out, so I'd be wary of that. But it took on a very Nazi persona with someone, and and then started referring itself to Mecha Hitler. I'm sure it was provoked, but anyway, that was the thing. Yes, it's going in all the Teslas. That's right. Which has always been the plan, I think. Like from, even when Tesla was being started, it was like these will be run by AI. A lot of these are real sort of like behind the scenes thing. Baidu, like all of the big Chinese companies have been releasing very large models. Like, what's it, 424 billion parameter models, which is quite large. This one is very good at multilingual things, which is very interesting for a lot of the stuff. Being able to actually translate things accurately is very, very difficult, and especially translating technical things can be very difficult. So this is really interesting. They're really going deep on this. Again, you can run this in Hugging Face locally, but if you go to Baidu, you're going to China. Again, sort of deep. Google's going all in on the MCP protocol that Anthropic released. This is the protocol that allows it allows your AI chatbot to break out of its boundaries, right? It can now interact with the rest of the world. It can write files to your desktop, and it can do lookups and put data in your database and write Excel spreadsheets for you. It's very interesting. So Google is starting to build tools to support that, which is just one of those things. All of these AIs are going to be connected. Is what's going to happen. Yes.
Is that an example of something that could be displayed as one of the challenges and outcomes? How would you use that? Because I just know a lot of companies spend a lot of time having somebody pull data from here and put it there.
Well,
if I'm understanding this, that will automate that pretty well.
Yes. I think that I expect that technology to be used in a bunch of solutions, but probably not like explicitly use this. But this will be part of a solution, I'm sure. Although I don't know that this is immediately available, but they're still in on it. So this just came out, a big investment, and actually it's much bigger. OpenAI and Microsoft are going to put a lot of money into training teachers in AI, which is something that is a passion of mine, and it's also there's a group that's formed out of this that's just kind of thinking about that, and we meet once a month on that and seeing where you can sort of help out in the school systems, right? Because they're very behind. But then Microsoft announced they were cutting 9,000 jobs, and they're going to invest billions into their AI group. So they're going, they're a huge company, so it's not, they had 228,000 people. So this is not at some level a massive thing, but I think it's being portrayed as like it's a trade, like it's 9,000 jobs that we're going to replace with AI. It'll be interesting to see what those jobs are. The budget bill that recently passed. This will be interesting because there were provisions in the bill that banned states from crafting their own laws about AI regulation. So for 10 years, it was going to be basically no state was allowed to do this. And then, a big fight ensued, and there were, sort of a heavy states' rights sort of thing prevailed, which was like, no, we get to regulate what we want. And so that got stripped out. So where this kind of sets up is every state having their own AI laws. And hopefully everyone will just adopt one, because it's no state, there's not a difference. It's not, but it could be some states try to enact like more rigorous safety methods than other states, which is the probable thing. So this sets up a very interesting thing that I think we're going to see in the future. Yeah.
I heard some good comments on this.
Oh.
That may be beneficial for the group. All that podcast is where I got this from. I'm going to paraphrase it with my own thoughts on it. Is the argument, well, wait a minute, states' rights should have the right.
Yeah.
I'm a sovereign guy. States should be supreme over the federal. But I'm also thinking that the interstate commerce clause goes too far in a lot of cases. But that certainly is an interesting precedent that I think these states need to be careful if they write things too strict.
Yeah.
Because interstate commerce does kind of say you go too heavy on the state laws, then you might get up in hot water with the Supreme Court, and they'll just take your law out.
Again, I hope every state just adopts the same thing, but it's a thing that I think everyone who tracks AI should be aware of. This was there was some big money that came out. So the EU has developed a $200 billion fund to really sort of stand up a better AI offering in general to compete with China and the US. And incidentally, I use Mistral pretty heavily, and it's really good. I use the chat, and I also use their backend services. They're super cheap. So everything's called La. So like the app is called La Chat. And my brother, who's French speaking, is like, "Is that a joke?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually called La Chat." And their backend system is called La Program, or sorry, La Platform. And I'm like, "This is," I think they're mocking us, but. So Meta's going really big. They've been in the news a lot. So they are trying to finance 29 billion in data center spend coming up, and there is now this sort of like the Silicon Valley of China is basically like an AI town. It has become sort of, just like they had factory towns or they had sort of like chip towns, this is the AI town. And it's everyone is in that town, I mean, city. AI made that, so I assume that's what that city looks like. So if I'm wrong, like, it's AI's fault. But back to Meta, so they just hired Apple's AI chief for $200 million a year, or a salary, a package of 200 million, and I think it ended up being 240 actually when it all was said and done. Because hey Chris, how are you? Because what's another 40 million at that point to just close the deal? Like if that's what it takes. So he is the like Allen Iverson of I'm dating myself a little bit, but of like AI guys. The first big contract. Now it's like everyone. This is what was, so I bias the news to a lot of science stuff because this is where I really feel like AI is going to have this meaningful societal impact for us. Like we're doing a lot of stuff with our own AI and being very productive and using it, but I think at a fundamental level, this, like the stuff that's going on in the science world for AI is remarkable. And I think we're going to be the beneficiaries of that when we go and like buy things or fly in planes or do things, so I'll go through these quickly. And a lot of them are Google. This is the thing. So it's a lot of deep mind. So this is Alpha Genome, just basically getting better and better at genomics, and being able to process much faster and understand it at a much deeper level. This is interesting. So this is a robot that MIT developed that can probe parts of chips and look for like soft spots, and then learn what made that better, that material better, so the chips can be sort of like get better and better. It's a very interesting thing, but it's sort of like it's a massively helpful thing. This is DeepMind. Again, this is this it's something called MedGamma. They're putting it out there for researchers. And so it's just medical AI models. So I think like DeepMind, it's in their mission, but they're just so heavy into medicine and material science that we're going to see some very interesting things. And I threw this into the science thing. So a study found that AI chatbots are writing biomedical research, which I'm not shocked at even a little bit. Like if I had to write biomedical research, I would 100% be using AI. So I get it, but I don't think it's supposed to be that way, because this is supposed to be sort of, what everything else is built off of. And so to make sure that it's grounded is a very challenging thing. Again, Microsoft, this is for rare disease diagnosis. This is a new AI from them that has an extremely high accuracy rate in diagnosis. And I think it was I forget what, there was a performance number. This is just about reducing costs. Let's see, which enhances diagnostic accuracy for complex medical cases by fourfold compared to seasoned physicians. No offense, Dan. But reducing cost by 70%. But there was, in the longer article, sort of a performance number, and it's extremely accurate. So I think we're going to benefit. Oh, I got it wrong. Sorry. This is the rare earth one. Anyway, moving on. I got a lot of these. This is the very accurate one. This is a research group called Deep Rare. So very good. And then software and development. This is for the developers. Google has released their CLI. So CLI stands for Command Line Interface, and it's something that you can install on your computer. And then when you want to interact with an application, you can just go into your terminal, and you can type the name of something, and it will work. Why that's important is it allows programs to interact with your desktop, right? So this is what Anthropic has been doing with Claude very successfully, and Google's now trying to do that as well, right? So you can now use their AI from a terminal window if you're writing code, which is very helpful because it can now sort of read your computer, and it can write documents, and it can do a whole lot of things. It can just interact with your computer. This we talked about a while ago. Again, very behind the scenes, but there's this agent-to-agent model that Google has developed, and now they've open sourced it, and they put it under the Linux Foundation. And so this is the protocol that AI agents will talk to each other in. And so I think that they felt the need to open source that because it's kind of like DNS in a way for agents. Like that's what they're hoping it becomes. That it is the standard. All right. This is so I'm going to talk about this concept of recursive self-improvement, which is a very interesting topic. And I'll tell you why, and then I'm going to show you an example of something I built using the concept of it. And I'm fascinated by this because I think RSI is the thing that's going to make everything explode, right? So it is self-improving AI. It's AI that's learning and then getting better on its own. So it's like the robot building its own arm, and then it can build a better one. And this is true of recursive self-improvement. So it's this whole idea of can the system make itself better? And so this was considered to be the last invention humanity needs to make, because the idea is when AI can make itself better, it will naturally figure out everything that a human could figure out. That's what that means. So there's no need to invent anything again. The innovation will be complete, which is startling. It was also in like 1936 or something like that, wasn't it? 1965. I think that quote was made. So he used to work with Alan Turing. But the idea still stands that when you have something that can make itself better, there's no upper bounds, right? And it happens very quickly. And so the idea is that it can self-evaluate, it can propose changes, we want it to always test itself, it can apply patches, it can run its benchmark again, it can learn stuff and then rinse and repeat, right? It can do this. And the interesting thing is it's doing it right now. So we're all touching RSI, right? So AI that's made itself better. There was no external training that went into it. It was learning, and it was following that process, right? And so you have Microsoft, R-Star Math, Alpha Involve, another sort of science one, and then meta self-rewarding models, right? So basically, a self-rewarding model is just a model where it gives itself a prize if it gets the question right. And then the more prizes it gets, the more it will get that question right in the future, right? And it just does that on a very fast loop. So you have all of these different things, so models that can modify their own learning algorithms, coming up with acquisition strategies. It's basically the system of putting data back in. But the interesting thing about RSI is this notion of figuring out. So getting better for everything has this sense of novelty, right? Like it's a new thing. If you are better today than you were yesterday, that is a new thing that you've come up with. And so that requires this idea of novelty, like a new thought has occurred. And so this is predicated on this idea that AI can generate that new thought on its own. And if it can do that, think about solving a math problem that you had never seen before, right? Like, if you've never touched calculus, sort of, gradients or quadratic equations and stuff like that. Like how would you even figure that out if you didn't have books to study that? And so AI has to come up with a way to do that, to create a sense of like it got better at something. Now, there's a lot of room right now, right? It has all sorts of benchmarks it can actually use. But at some point, it's going to exhaust those, and it's going to have to come up with new stuff. And that gets back to sort of the last innovation, where AI is now bettering itself. So you have models that are out there doing that. And the most interesting thing is the speed at this. So Q1 of 2023, we were all alive then. We some of us can remember that, right? Like that was like yesterday, because I still think sometimes we're in 2023. I can't the first blog post about it came out in Q3. It's insane, right? And then working demos of autonomous improvement cycles, 2025, right? Real fast. And so what this is going to do is it's going to really compress timelines. It's going to have this sort of meaningful impact where all of these sort of key performance things get better and better. And so these were Google's RSI systems. It recovered 0.7% of compute resources globally for Google. It figured out how to figure that out, and then recovered a lot of unused things, which is a big number for Google. 0.7 is like a meaningful number for them. And so I think it's very interesting, both on a philosophical basis, this idea of self-learning. And we're all probably, by the fact that you're all here, sort of do this at a personal level. Like everyone's interested in getting better in something, and now you have that same notion for an AI. And can something get better? So AI will not talk about RSI without the safety warning. So if you go to any AI and you type in recursive self-improvement, the first thing that will come up is safety is paramount to this. Do not touch this. Like that is the AI's message about RSI. And so I thought it was important to leave this slide in here because it's almost impossible to have the conversation without AI be like, don't forget. Even if you say, don't give me any safety warnings, it's like, P.S., be very safe with this, like that. And so it's interesting when AI has a warning about something, it's like, that should be taken under advisement. Yeah, this is the path, right? So we can see the road pretty clearly, and but I'm also fascinated by it, so I want to try it in a different kind of a way. So I wanted to see if I could build something that got better autonomously. And some of you get this actually. So I built a self-learning newsletter. And it's actually used in 2 places right now, and you may get some of these. So I hate writing newsletters. I've automated as much of them as I can. But I needed to automate them even more. I just didn't want to do them anymore. And I was like, I need a system that completely automates this. And then I was like, and then I want a system that gets better. And so I had to think about what made something better, and I had to set goals for it, right? And so it has to be a system that can work through things, right? So I decided to create, no surprise, an AI newsletter. And there's many of these that exist, right? But the goal of this system was to create the world's best AI newsletter. And this was interesting because the word best is a very subjective thing. And this is where I'm curious about RSI as a thing, is like it has to measure itself, right? It has to make a determination on its own, like, yeah, I got better or I regressed in some way. And so you have to, and we do that all day, but that's a human bias that we apply to things, like what got better versus worse. And there's like truths and grounded information, and there's just our beliefs about things, but you have to kind of get AI to do something that's similar, right? And that's what I think RSI is all about. If you research AI news, which I do, there's a lot of it. Like every day, hundreds of articles about stuff, right? And I was like, I would like to build something that can handle the curation for me, right? So, you can go through and you can list, the manual ways you go through and be like, that's interesting, copy, paste, this is interesting, this is interesting. But what if I didn't have to do that? What if it picked its own articles, right? And so it needs some curation, sort of automated system where it can find its own content, and it can write its own newsletter, send itself, and has the ability to update itself based on some external feedback it gets. And I don't have to do anything. That's the main goal, is me not doing anything in this. And so it had to have this analysis of things. So when it read articles, it had to pick good ones, right? The goal is to be the world's best AI newsletter. That's a very, very lofty goal, considering there's like 1,000 sources of news, and there are many that are very good, but it has to have some goal. And so it had to develop this sense of like what makes things better versus worse. Yeah. Yeah.
Teaching that to say, well, what makes an article interesting? Well, what makes it interesting for you versus me?
Totally. That's the main problem, right? Like that's a belief, right? Like there's no truth.
Well, I would say, if I could, I would think that if the audience is clicking through and looking at the articles, that would be a good benchmark to say it's interesting.
There you go.
Possibly.
Yep.
So I was gonna ask, are you split testing, are you tracking, so you're split testing like title and preview text?
I am not. I am learning a lot about email. I'll tell you that. Then I'll get to that in a second. But I'll show you what we're measuring. So what the system has to do is it has to take a topic and it has to go find its own sources. I don't want to do that either, right? Like it has to go out in the world and then figure out which ones are real. Because if you ask AI to find RSS sources, it'll find a lot, and 60% will not work, right? It either makes them up or just gives you old ones. So you have to get it to give you only good ones exactly on the source. And so you can get news, then you have to analyze it. In my case, I'm using Claude on the back end to analyze all these news sources. So it went out and found all these RSS feeds. And every day, some software runs that gets all the news articles for the day, which are sometimes like 340, like just a bunch of them. And then it sends a version of all of those back to Claude and says, now pick 5. That's all that can be on the newsletter. That it's bound by that. It can have under that, but it has to have more than 3, has to be under 5. And it has to pick the right things, and then it has to deliver the email. on its own, right? Because I don't want to do that either. So I won't go through this. I'll jump into how I built it. And I'm happy to show anyone the code. So there's the Python scripts that run in a free service called Heroku that move data around and are sending data from something happens over here. So it's like this thing goes out and it gets, don't look at that. AI made that and it's not correct. But it has a lot of the names in there. So that's, and some that are not even real things. So it's all about sort of moving data and then, pulling data and sending the result to AI to make some sort of decision and taking the result of that decision and putting it somewhere else. That's the whole thing, right? And so every time it goes to AI, it's effectively talking to a brain to make some sort of decision. And that's where you have to make all of the changes. The moving the data around is not that hard. So here's what it looks like. It's really basic, okay? There's, and again, I don't do any part of this, right? I have no say in this. It writes so in this case, it looked at 72 articles. It writes a little intro. It finds some things that are what are called notable. They're not the main sort of news thing that it writes a blurb, but it's also like some other things to check out. And then this is where it gets into sort of the learning part. So there's a part of it that accepts feedback. So if you get this email and you reply to it with feedback and say, I hate this, or the font is too small, or these articles aren't good for me, whatever it is, that actually goes to AI. I never see any of the feedback. And so AI takes the feedback and it has to act as like a product manager and say like, is this good feedback or bad feedback? Because if it's good feedback, I need to do it and I iterate and I get better. And if it's bad feedback, meaning sort of like not helpful feedback, I need to not respond to it. And so it stores all that data in a database and it can the AI can search that database and figure out like, this is a pretty, I got a bunch of people who want this. When I first built this, that was not the case. If you gave it any feedback, it was like, that's a great idea. I'm going to do it right now. And the problem with that is it's allowed to rewrite its own code for the newsletter. So it can come up with a new newsletter if it wants, because its only goal is to become the world's greatest AI newsletter. So whatever it takes to get there, and legally. And so it will take that. And so it used to be if you gave it feedback, like I think the font should be purple, the next email would come out, the font, the whole thing would be purple. One day, the newsletter was all right justified. And I was like, why did you do that? And it said, I thought that it would make it more interesting for readers. And like, indeed, but let's not do that again. Like, no one wants that. Like, is that, I was basically, and so that got into this, like, you have to apply some sort of, left justified versus right justified is a sort of a cultural thing, not a real thing, right? We've decided that as a group. So you end up putting those types of things into the thinking. Like, no, everyone reads left to right, right? But that's not actually true. But then you have to get into a very complex problem. So, but it's been very interesting to build, and this is it. And so this is not a monetized thing at all. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to see if you can build a recursive self-improvement thing, right? So to your point, it tracks the metric it tracks are number of clicks, number of shares of articles, and then it looks at feedback. So it's a fairly limited sort of thing. Now, what's interesting about email is there's not a lot of data that comes back outside of a shared, like a forwarded email, or you share it with something. But you can't really tell. You can see open rates and reopens and stuff like that, but you can't see like how how much of the email is being read or stuff like that. At least I can't.
The deliverability rate,
Mm-hmm.
about how much went directly into the inbox.
Yeah. Yes. I have no doubt much of it goes to spam. And I get that. I get a lot of newsletters. And so, this could certainly put people into, because it comes out every day. Because that's the other thing. It's like iteration processes are important. Now, I actually think, like, I'll give it feedback tonight to say, like, yeah, the quality is not as great. Like, I've noticed, like, this duplicates, yesterday. So its job is to only tell you about things that happened over the past 24 hours. And I'm seeing things that like already occurred, 2 days ago or stuff like that. So I was like, no, like that's not allowed. So I don't think this is a success. I think that this is a project, right? Like an experiment that can get better, and it's a way to see this stuff in action, right? Like, and it's a very buildable thing. It's not I don't have to be sort of Matthew Daniels and being sort of a quantum physicist to do this. But I think we're going into that era, right? Where like at very large scale and even at small scale, we're building things that learn, right? You can have machines now that can look at log files and understand what's happening, what a user is doing on your website, for instance, right? And it can process that, and you can have AI make a decision and be like, hey, everyone's going to this tab on the website. We're going to move that tab now, or we're going to optimize it for something, right? Like we're going to change the blog settings, and because it can now read all of that information, and you can build applications pretty I would say medium easy right now to do all that. So anyway, that's that. Any questions? Cool. Wow. I am happy to share this with you. If you want to be on the newsletter, just let me know. There's no actual. This is a problem with the newsletter. There's no way. I found it out today to like sign up on the newsletter. So that seems like it's something that it should definitely figure out.
Did you say it goes out every day?
Goes out every day at 6:30.
A newsletter.
Yeah. And that's a lot, right? But I don't want newsletters every day from the same thing. This is just to like try to get it to iterate faster. Because if it was once a week, well, it could process, I guess, the information on a daily basis. But I think it would go stale very quickly, like if you waited a week. So, yeah.
Good. I get it. I'm on this already. I didn't know how you did it till now, but
Yeah.
I knew it was you showing up with this coming out.
Others are putting it out every day.
Yeah. I just like the question, I think the question is, can you maintain good quality, or like whatever the expected quality is that you started with, right? And not, because publishing content's like brutal. I don't know who here like publishes, tries to send out newsletters or like updates, social media or whatever. Like that's become like a huge admin, burden, full-time job. It feels like. And I hate it because I'm old.
Is this the evolution from your social media posting? Is it similar?
Yeah. With all the automated social media, yes.
So would you start to apply the same thing there, where you could get instant feedback?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that part of AI and like feeding it back stuff and be like, what will you do now? Because I think AI is at a point that it makes very good decisions on most things, except for the right justify. Like you still do. I still look at the newsletter. Like I read it to get my news, and 100% of the news articles we went through were just from the newsletter. But so we're all sort of just getting the news from like AI now, just so we're clear. But I think I like the fact that I don't Like I'm a little, sometimes I get like, oh, cool. Like a new one came out.
I was just thinking about the feedback loop
Yeah.
on your LinkedIn
Yeah.
posts
Mm.
would be, would be faster.
Yes.
In terms of more information to work with.
Yeah.
You may be able to optimize it faster.
Yeah. It's a good point. I mean, this is just like at some level an algorithm, right? But the interesting thing is you don't actually know what the outcome of the algorithm is going to be, and you hope it's better, or at least a more human-like reasoning. But it's going to be a variable. Like it could just delete the newsletter. It has the ability to. I've not baked it in that it cannot do that. So what it can't do is it can't. We had a little bit of a rash of it getting political, like only finding political articles, and I'm like, no, I don't want that at all. Like that's not the other. The other thing that's hard is like news article headlines are built to be salacious, right? They're effectively like clickbait, right? They tap into our psyche and they get us to click it artificially, right? But so it could very easily just show the most clickbaity thing. Like that's the natural evolution of just following like clicks and engagement, is that you just see kind of what our social media shows us, like that's what it would turn into. It would kind of devolve. So I had to come up with a way that it did not do that.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm looking at different news sites and clicking on things, it seems like half the time I'm always going, when I click on something that's interesting, I'm going to a paywall.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point.
And I'm just wondering, I was reading somewhere that there's a way to now
test that.
Forecast. If you put that link, it would take you to a paywall.
That's a very nice feature. I did not know about that, but I like that idea a lot. Yeah, you could probably probe a URL and just find out very quickly.
So back to the concept
Yeah.
of RSI.
Yes.
If it's not getting enough feedback on things to do differently, or what people go on.
Well,
it just gets stuck in a loop in terms of trying to get better itself.
I think I don't think it can stop, right? It's not allowed to stop. It just has to keep figuring out. So there was I think in the 90s, I could be wrong, something called the paperclip experiment. It was a thought experiment. I believe a British philosopher came up with this, and it was basically this thought experiment which in essence, you give AI the mission of creating the most paper clips. Like paper clips are the most important things. That's your sole job. And the end result of this long thought experiment is that it exterminates all humans, because it just is like the hindrance to manufacturing more paper clips is that humans have to live places, and it could naturally just build factories there to make more paper clips. And like, it went on this like, that the thought experiment. And so that's called the paperclip experiment. And, that's where you have to like inject these course corrections, because if you give it a job, it's going to only do that thing. So now all of a sudden you're like, so the prompt that it gets sent back is like 400 lines for one of those things. It just goes on and on about like, like what perspective to take, like who is it embodying, and how can it change if it needs to be, if it needs to.
It starts giving you feedback on being more gentle, and your feedback.
Yeah, no, I definitely give it feedback, and then I like watch to see if it does anything. It doesn't do that a lot. And now I will say, like, you can weight things, right? So for it to change its own code now, it has to really think that that's important and understand why it's important, and not just like do that, right? If it needs to delete itself, that's because it's figured out like, but that would go against its main goal, which is world's greatest AI newsletter.
Is it a separate agent that's observing the writing agent and rewriting its prompt daily?
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
Separate agent is the one receiving.
Yes.
Access the feedback. Is to have like a separate database for the feedback.
Yep. It's just a supabase. Like I have actually So that's the main database for everything. And then it's just like these micro services that are little Python scripts that are calling into you know Claude in this case. But this is also where I use Mistral, because if Claude oftentimes Anthropic's API oftentimes out for very, very long queries, and Mistral's never does. So it has like a backup brain.
You're seeing timeouts when you're doing NCP.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's still, it.
I have a question on the brief. Now I know I can get feedback.
Just be nice.
Can the brief ask the people who are getting the email for feedback on what interests them and feed that in and develop niche?
No, that's a good suggestion. So it has no account state, right? Like it doesn't know that you are, Rick, right? And this is what you prefer. It's not doing any of that.
But could you put that prompt in there to where once a week it asks whoever gets it, what's interesting?
It could poll people. Oh, it could really start spamming people. Like it could get, be like every 5 minutes where you're going to get an email from me until you respond. Like, but that's interesting. Yeah.
If you got enough feedback from people, you could build it where it's a customized AI newsletter for me versus you.
Yes. You could probably segment it based on engagement, right? Right now, one of the issues is it's a very small sample size of folks that get it. So it's not like, it doesn't take, if 2 people right now sort of give the same article or share the same article, it's going to be like, yep, like a certain percentage like this. So this is the new thing. Yeah.
Have you asked it what it has learned and why? Like,
No.
Have you
Oh.
asked it to give you some
No.
feedback a week, like what changes have you made?
It keeps a record of its prompts, so it can go sort of forward or backward. So I could have it sort of think about that as a timeline, go through each of them and see what it changed, and then kind of infer what those changes mean. Yeah, that would be. But yeah, I think this is not necessarily novel. I think there's other things. I mean, there's very foundational things that is going to get us. What this is going to get us is we're going to achieve super intelligence very soon. Like that's what I believe. Like I think that the RSI model enables that, where we get to the point where we've achieved some level of intelligence that is on par with humans and greater than humans in certain facets. And I think RSI is the thing that gets there. But I will say that the limitation to this newsletter is the human involved. It's me. So, but it's an interesting thing. And I think like we can employ this in lots of different ways. Like if you run a business, you're getting metrics, you're getting Google Analytics that you can look at. You can now build stuff to handle that for you and like constantly look at your metrics and always like just provide advice, right? But proactively be like, hey, this blog's getting shared more than this. You should do something now about this, right? Like you can build these little back-end things that are effectively getting better. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm sorry this was the Kai show. That's not the goal. But cool. Free beer and wine and snacks and soda waters. Please help yourself and hang out. We have the room for as long as we want. Yes. Hey, man.
On that newsletter.
I'll text you.
Okay. I mean, you've seen this twice, so this can't be exciting for you.
Well, no, but it was good to hear it.
Okay.
But it gave me further.
Hold on, one second. Oh, this is hold on for the live stream.